Hey everybody, I am Austin Scott and thank you for checking out my harness racing fan page called Scott Trot. So I'm really happy you guys are here tonight because tonight marks the first episode of what I'm calling the Paddock Party. And basically what this show is going to be, I'm going to sit down, hopefully on a weekly basis. We'll try to do it on a consistent basis and sit down with some of the drivers, trainers, owners, and other harness racing personnel so you guys can get to know them better. So I'm a new fan to harness racing. If you haven't seen my page before, that's at the very top of the page. I'm new to harness racing. I'm always trying to learn more, and I'm trying to work my way up to eventually become an owner, trainer, and driver someday myself. So the one thing being a newer harness racing fan that I've noticed is there's not a whole lot of video content that's out there where you can learn more about your favorite people that are in the harness racing industry. So I'm trying to kind of fill the gap there, and that's the inspiration for the Paddock Party. So like I said, I'm going to try to get you guys to sit down and watch this with me, learn more about your favorite people in harness racing. And if you're somebody new like me, this could be your chance to maybe find an owner, trainer, driver that you can latch onto and go root for at the racetrack, which makes it a lot of fun too. So I'm really excited about my guest that's going to be joining us here tonight. So he's a guy, same age as me. I think we're both 24. And he has been super welcoming to me at the harness races, has always done his best to share everything that's on this Scott Trot page that I have. He's always just very welcoming to me, and he's a great ambassador for harness racing. So I'm really excited to have him on. 2020 has been his breakout year. He's doing a lot of great things out there and just seems to be getting more drives and more wins here each and every week. So it's really exciting to have somebody like that on here, and just being able to have more young blood in the sport is something that I know a lot of people that are currently in the sport are asking for. So hopefully me and this guy can team up and try to do that. So we're going to try to welcome him in. We'll see if he's joined in on the video here yet. Let me check real quick. And we'll see once he starts watching the video and stuff, that's when I can add him in. We'll start the interview process. So again, if you're just joining me for the very first time, my name is Austin Scott, and this is my harness racing fan page, Scott Trot. So if you guys haven't already, please make sure you give this page a like. I think we have 389 likes heading into tonight's interview, and I would just love to keep getting more and more on there. So make sure you like Scott Trot if you haven't already. And then if you have any fans, or excuse me, if you have any friends that are harness racing fans, make sure you have them like the page as well, share it with them, and we'll just continue to grow this and do what we need to do with harness racing, and that's have fun. So that'll be a lot of fun. So let me see who we have watching. Diane Crossman's watching. Lee Scott's watching. Erica Lynn's watching. Jacob Nowicki's watching. Taylor Scott also watching. Thank you guys for all tuning in here so far. So I'm just kind of doing a little vamping right now here, just trying to let more people join in on the broadcast and join in on the fun. And for our guest tonight, if you have any questions for him once you see who it is, you can feel free to comment those below, and I'll make sure that I ask him when we're on air. So it looks like there we go. Awesome. And there is our guest of honor tonight, the very first guest on the Paddock Party. This is the Bassmaster, Chris Presley. Chris, how are you doing, my man?
Good, man. How's it going?
Hey, I'm doing great, buddy. I'm super
trying to get the hold on. So I'm a little technically impaired when it comes to Facebook and Facebook Live, but
you're doing
trying
good,
to get these notifications of the bottom to disappear, but they might not, so it's no big deal.
Yeah, so
I can see you, so that's all that matters.
Somebody may ask you a question that's on there too, so at some point, if we do have some more questions kind of add up throughout all this, we'll answer them here at the end and stuff like that, if that sounds good with you.
Yeah, no problem, man.
Perfect, man. I want to start out first by the little prop that you have on your desk right now for the show tonight. Tell us a little bit about that.
let's give a shout out to Cracker Barrel. In case anybody want a nice little horse bust, this is Cracker Barrel $20 special. When you're sitting in line on a Sunday morning because all the church folks are at Cracker Barrel, this is what happens. You buy things that you don't need, but they're pretty cool.
Oh my God! Maybe we can get Cracker Barrel to stitch a patch on your colors or something.
Yeah,
Maybe
I would dig that because they have my favorite French toast. I mean, IHOP's pretty good, but Cracker Barrel lights out.
Barrel. Oh man, I go on Fridays for the fish special, man. That's my.
There you go. I'm breakfast only at Cracker Barrel.
Some pretty good.
No offense, Cracker Barrel, but breakfast only. Best breakfast in town.
Well, that's awesome, man. I appreciate you being the first guest here on Scott Trot and on the Paddock Party. So we'll kind of get things rolling here. And for people that are maybe new or have not heard of you yet here so far, can you give us a little bit of your background, kind of where you come from, and then how you got your start in harness racing?
Yeah, I'm originally from Michigan, Jackson, a little small town inside of Jackson, Michigan Center. Not a whole lot of horse people there, but Jackson, Michigan has quite a few harness horsemen. They're scattered around the country, but they originated there, or they have small farms there. Guys like Don Harmon and Kim Pluta are from that area. But that's where I come from. I got into racing kinda when I was a kid. My grandma is and was involved in it since as far as I can remember. I wasn't directly involved in it, but I was around it and kind of fell in love with it. Loved the animals, loved the sport. I'm a big competitor, so that it's kind of filled in for basketball and baseball and sports for me, because I still get that competitive, spirit, I guess.
Yeah.
But then I got a job going into college with a good trainer up in Michigan, Al Tomlinson. He kind of let me jog and train, but I had to start out cleaning stalls. Then after that, I got a job with Billy Farmer, and that's who actually gave me my first qualifying drives a few years later. Been about 4 years ago now. I appreciate that. Got to get a start. He trained. I trained a lot of horses with him, so he knew that I could do it. I just had to get a chance.
Well, good deal. So you said your first qualifier that you drove in was 4 years ago. So how old would you have been at that point then?
20. It was in between 20 and 21. I'm 25 now,
okay, but
freshly 25.
Okay, gotcha. So, it was at that point that you went from kind of working with the horses to actually driving them. Do you remember anything from your first actual race drive that you had?
Yeah, my first race drive was at the Circleville Fair. It was Father's Day weekend, and I drove one horse for Daryl Hoosier, and I finished second with her. I thought I was going to get my first win. That would have been pretty sweet, but I wasn't quite that good. I was facing Sandy Beatty, and if he's driving a pacing horse, chances are it's probably going to win because he doesn't even like driving pacers. He's a trot man only.
So nearly won in your first race, so that's pretty cool. So at what point did you get your first win then?
It took me pretty much the whole summer because, just to be honest, I really sucked. I sucked, and I had one horse to drive all summer, basically. Ended up at the end of the summer, I had a few more to drive, but I ended up driving like 3 horses all summer. They ended up being like 40 or 50 starts or something like that. I'd have to look it up, but it wasn't a whole lot of starts, but I ended up with 2 wins. I actually got a win on my birthday after my first win. That was kind of cool and exciting. That was to finish the year off because I didn't drive a horse the rest of the year.
Okay. And who was the first win with, and where was it at?
That was at Croton for Daryl Hoosier. It was the same horse I drove in my first race. I got the drive because I was up there at Delaware for the qualifiers when they first started having the Delaware qualifiers. Nobody was really around. The top guys, like Ronnie and Aaron and those guys, had horses for Brown. and Daryl had a horse up there, and he needed somebody to drive, and I was just this kid standing there in my colors, and this guy who looked like a long-haired white Jesus with a big beard, he's like, "Hey, drive this horse." He had a race bike and a watch, and I was ready to go, and I got her around there, and he said, "All right, you're my man. Let's test it out."
Well, good deal, man. Talk about being at the right place at the right time then.
Yeah, I try to do as much as I can with that, because in this business, it's tough to come by opportunities, but you got to take them while they're there, and you got to make the most of them when you get them.
Absolutely, man. So you started out, you're driving at the fairs. How long was it before you started making the transition to catching drives at some of the pari-mutuel tracks here in Ohio?
Oh, it took a while. I'd say I drove the first year at the fairs. The second year, I think I just about only drove at the fairs. And I got my P license maybe at the end of Scioto that year. And drives were really slow. Obviously, nobody really knew who I was still. I kind of bounced around from trainer to trainer, working as a second trainer and trying to get some qualifying drives at Scioto. I'd stand up at Scioto waiting for somebody to not show up to qualify, or, it didn't matter if the horse was trying to fall down or if it was a good horse. I just wanted to go behind the gate and get some experience. But then I met a guy, another older fella, Bob Kennard, old school fella, really good to me. He's been super loyal. I can't be appreciative enough of him. He gave me my first pari-mutuel drives, and it was with a horse that was pretty much banned from racing because she'd kick people out of the race bike and wheel, and yeah, she wasn't the nicest horse. And like he told me when I got on her, he said, "This ain't no kid's horse." And I was like, well, I'm kind of a kid, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that was a good horse to kind of learn on, because it taught me not to be scared. I kind of did it, and I ended up winning with her like 3 starts in, and then I think in 8 starts at Scioto we made $16,000 with her, which like doubled or tripled her lifetime earnings, and got new lifetime mark and stuff like that. But she was just a wicked thing to deal with. I mean, she was tough. And I was like really, really scrawny then. Like, I'm not big now, but like I probably weighed like 160 at 6'3". You know what I mean? Like I was in rough shape. So this horse like pulled your arms off, and you couldn't steer, and you couldn't hang on to her. It was tough, but it was fun and good experience. I learned how to leave in 26 seconds, I'll tell you that much, because I couldn't hang on to her. So the other guys, they kind of got a little sick of me, because every time I had a horse in, I'd leave. Well, it wasn't because I wanted to necessarily. It's because I didn't have a choice. Yeah, it was all out, man. And we ended up getting some good fractions one day, and she won, and she got a couple seconds and thirds. But I couldn't hold her in a hole. I couldn't do nothing with her. So I'd get away like third sometimes, and she'd just pull herself out of a hole and take off. I was like, man, this sucks. Yeah. I mean, we got money, but it wasn't. I feel like if we could have just killed her out, she would have probably won a lot more. You know what I mean?
Right. Definitely not a kid's horse, like you said. So
yeah.
So you're starting to catch drives at the pari-mutuel tracks, and like you said, you're just kind of keeping your face and name out there and trying to build your name as well. When did you finally, break through and get that first pari-mutuel win, and where was that at?
That was at Scioto with that mare that I was just talking about. Her name was Mrs. Charles Sparkley. It was, I don't know, in July 2 years ago or something like that.
Good deal.
But it was first win. It was at Scioto. Scioto is like my home track. I'm from Michigan, but when I started sitting in the race bike, it was at Scioto going qualifiers.
Gotcha. So that's pretty cool. And we talk about your humble beginnings and just doing anything you could to hang around and get drives. And then this year was just an absolute breakout year for you, man. So I mentioned it kind of the intro of this video. You seem to be just getting more and more drives each and every week, and also picking up more and more wins on a consistent basis, including I think you've had a couple doubles and a triple here in the last month or so at Dayton Raceway. So things have been going really good. What have you kind of keyed your success on this year? What do you credit this breakout season to?
I probably get asked this 3 times a day when I go to the racetrack. I wish I had a good answer. I don't really. I mean, I guess I have been going to Pinehurst in the winter for the past 2 winters. So basically everybody could have just forgot about me, and I wasn't anybody to not forget anyway. I was just, bottom of the barrel. If you need somebody, you need somebody. But I came back this year, and we had some nice colts. So I think maybe that's kind of started it out, as we had some nice colts, and I won some Buckeye Stallion Series races right off the rip. But we've had less time racing because we were off 2 months when we came back from Pinehurst without any racing. So we were 2 months behind. And then we had a 2-week shutdown at Dayton not long ago because of the COVID. And last year I ended up with like less than 200 drives, and somehow I'm at 700 this year. So it was kind of just an overnight thing. I did good with a couple horses. And I think because, Mike Metters and our owners, they trusted me with our sire stake horses and our open trotter and Buckeye horses. I think people seeing that, they're like, well, if he can drive those horses, I think he can drive our cheaper horses. And then when I get trust into a new trainer, they say, oh, well, you know what? You'd be second or third choice behind somebody like Brett Miller or Josh or Jeremy. If they pick off, go ahead, you drive it, you do good, you can stay on it. And I don't have a lot of choices in races, so I usually stay on those horses. But I'm starting to now at Dayton, where I'll get some cheaper horses, but they all get in together. So I'll have like 3 choices. And that stuff's really hard to do. I tell you, like, I don't know how these guys do it. Like, when they have to, you're going to make somebody mad. Like, unfortunately, that's just the way it is. And they understand eventually, but it's really, really hard to make choices in races because you really don't know. You could be like, this is the best horse in the race, so I'm going to pick it. And then the horse is sick. And then the other horses that you didn't pick beat you, and then those trainers are like, well, you picked the wrong one. I was like, well, it's just the luck of the draw, you know what I mean? Like, anything can happen in a horse race. It's crazy.
That's absolutely true. So you mentioned in there that you came back and there were some really good goals that did a lot for you this season. Hang on, there's your microphone back.
Is it my microphone? Okay, I couldn't tell if it was mine or if it was yours. You were kind of fading out on me.
It's good again. Yep, so we're good.
Okay.
But yeah, you talked about you came back, drove some really good colts this year, won some big races right off the rip. One of those is Meadowland Bosa. So one of my favorite horses that I got to watch this year. He was a 3-year-old pacing colt this season, and that was, I'll let you say, but was that the horse that really led your breakout season?
For sure. I mean, right off the rip, when we came back, we got right into the Buckeye Stallion Series, and yeah, he wasn't the favorite going into the races, but he ended up winning the first 2 legs, and that kind of pumped my stats up, I guess you would say. And then I win with one of our trotters who, I don't know, I still don't know how he did it. Everyone was like, what in the world did you do to that horse to make him win a race? I said, well, he stayed flat, so that's the main thing. Yeah. He's real tough. He's harder than heck to hold. It's like pulling on a semi-truck. Half the time he trots, half the time he doesn't. But he got around there winning 55, so that was my I think that was my second Buckeye win.
Okay.
And then the third was the second leg for the Colts, for the pacing Colts. But Bosa, he won a lot of fairs. The only thing I wish I could change about the horse was I wish he was a little more two-dimensional, because he really only raced good on the front end. And he could leave, but you had to stretch him out to leave. It wasn't like a horse that could snap off the gate and then back down and go in 26. Like, if he's going in 26, you're chasing him, and he's got to be all out the whole quarter, you know what I mean? And that really hurt him at the fairs, because you had, these little, he's a big, gangly horse. And it takes him a minute to get going, and these little horses that go at the fairs, they snap right out of there and beat him to the front. And if they don't want to let me go, then it was game over. And that ended up costing us the fair final, because the horse, he just would not race from behind.
Right.
But he did, and he won at Delaware. Went some hot fractions at Delaware. One of the, I think it was Tuesday. Track wasn't super fast. We still went some hot fractions, but he hung on by like a nose. That was my probably most memorable moment of the summer. It was my first win at Delaware, and it was for 20,000, so that was cool.
I had that as one of my questions, kind of what your favorite moment from the season was. I had a feeling that the Delaware win was probably going to be it. So that was on Monday of Jug Week, and I got to be there on the OHHA broadcast for that. And I kind of picked your brain beforehand and wanted to know what your strategy was for Meadowland Bosa. And so I went on the broadcast and said, "Hey, Chris is going to be really aggressive with them from the get-go." And end up paying out pretty well. So I think you guys went off at either like 12 or 15 to 1 or something like that.
I think it was 14 to 1, I think.
14 to 1. And yeah, you were able to get him off the gate into the lead. And, like you said, some pretty hot fractions. I wasn't sure he was going to be able to battle through, and he did, and pulled it out for your first Delaware win. So that was pretty cool. And like you said, your most memorable moment of 2020, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a little tough race. I had Noble's horse in there, Bargain Shopper.
Yep.
But the way the race set up, he came first up, and that took a little bit out of him. But even with the hot fractions, that horse had never been beat on the front end when I drove him. So I knew he could do it. I just was praying the wire was coming.
So what is Bosa up to now? I think I saw him in a race over at the Meadows here maybe a week or so ago.
Yeah, about, I'd say 3.5, 4 weeks ago, the Burke Brigade bought him. So he's racing for the Burks. I think he finished second last Friday.
Yeah, and I think he's in.
A lot of times these guys. Yeah, a lot of times Metters and Hoovlers, they sell their 3-year-olds after they get done racing at the fairs and in the stakes races.
Gotcha. So. Good deal. So yeah, we'll keep tabs on Bosa here and see how the rest of his career goes with the Burks. So that's pretty exciting. So we talked about 2020 here a lot so far, but it's hard to believe that 2021 is only a couple weeks away here. So I wanted to ask you, do you have any goals in mind for next season already, or maybe a goal you didn't hit this year and you're going to try again next year?
Well, it was hard to say that because I didn't have the goals that I already passed for this summer because I never thought it would go like this. But
Right.
When I came back from Pinehurst and I went a couple of races and things just kind of took off, and some people said that would happen or it could happen, and it was looking pretty doubtful for 2 years when I was driving. I mean, I wasn't anything that I drove had the 9-hole and was 1,000 to 1, and
Right.
I couldn't get nothing there to the winner's circle. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I think I won 27 races out of 190 or something like that. So I wanted to win, try to get to maybe 40 wins. And then I ended up, right now, I think I have 65 or 66. So I was trying to, before the COVID shutdown at Dayton, I was trying to get to 75 wins, 75 seconds, 75 thirds. Okay. And I've got the seconds and thirds, but I need 7 more wins, I think, if I do the math right. Yeah, I need 7 more wins to get to 75. So I'm actually at like 68 wins. But anyway, I had a win, and I got the big X. I got taken down to last the other day. And
this week.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, that was the first time I got taken down from first to last. It was kind of one of the things. It was a whatever kind of call. It could go either way. Horse was coming back at me pretty fast. I had to make a move out, or I was probably going to go on my noggin, and I didn't want that. Right. So it looked like I had a little room. It was muddy. It was hard to see for everybody. So I couldn't maybe see that there wasn't enough room, and that person might have not seen that I came out. It is what it is. Yeah. But we'll see. Hopefully that horse can win again next week and not get taken down.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good. So for 2021, I mean, just to preview your plans, do you plan on going south again this winter, or are you going to stick around for the Miami Valley Raceway season?
No, I'm sticking around for the meet this summer or this winter, and I might make some trips to Northfield. I've been going to Northfield here and there. I like to stay down at Dayton, Miami, but when I do go to Northfield, I've been doing all right. I got a couple wins last week, but It's a little tough racing up there. Especially if you don't draw good. Half-mile racing can be tough.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, just you've hit on it a lot. You had less than 200 drives last season, and now I think you said you had maybe 700 this year. So,
Yeah,
um,
close to it.
so keeping really busy, and we've talked about a lot of things at the track, and I kind of wanted to shift gears and go behind the scenes with you a little bit as far as some of your preparation work and stuff like that that goes into going to the racetrack. So you've been on the road a lot this year so far, and I wanted to ask you. Just because I come from a car racing background, so I know what our drives to the track were like. As far as we always had a pretty pumped up vibe, loud music, that kind of stuff. So for you, Chris, when you're heading to the track, what do you like to do?
I just like to keep it loose, man. Anybody that knows me personally, I am just cool as a cucumber all the time. I just want to keep it loose, loosey goosey. I like to listen to any kind of music. I change the station. It drives Erica nuts. I change the station after every song. I listen to an 80s country song, like some John Denver, Take Me Home, Country Roads, and then it'll be like that cool vibe, and then all of a sudden I'm like, change it over to channel 41 on Sirius Radio, and we're rocking out to some System of a Down, you know what I mean?
There we go.
And then just right after that, change it to the 90s rap station. It doesn't matter. I know every song of every genre from the 60s to now. That's why I have to have my windows tinted, because I don't want people to see me jamming out too hard. You know what I mean? People always say, what do you have your windows tinted so dark for? Well, one, I'm sensitive to light, but two, I really don't want to be embarrassed by everybody watching me down the highway. You know what I'm saying?
So sensitive to the light. Is that why you got the sunglasses on then too?
Yeah, I got the little ring, the light ring thing for like videos. It's actually Erica's makeup thing, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But bright light kills my eyeballs. I wear sunglasses at night, even driving.
Oh.
Because the lights are so bright. You know what I mean? From the track.
Right. Absolutely. So we talked about your drive into the track, and then also for you, when you're preparing for a drive, just how much prep work actually goes into that for you? Is it something where you're watching replays the week leading up to the race with a specific horse? Are you reading the program at the track, trying to game plan what you want to do and what other drivers might do with their horses? And how, just how far in advance do you do that kind of stuff?
Usually when the draw comes out, like if I haven't driven a horse before, I got the RTN on my TVs. Yep. So I like to, if I'm not racing, I always have the races on, whether it's at Northfield or at Dayton or Miami, Scioto. I like to kind of figure out what every horse does all the time, most of the time anyway. He doesn't do it all the time, but I know the drivers well enough to I know what their game plan is in most of the races, and they've learned how I drive or whatever. But I like to figure out what the horse is like. And most of the time trainers will tell you, like, this horse doesn't like first up, or this horse is better if you leave, or what. But if I watch the races, I'll watch 4 or 5 replays and kind of see what's happened when they've done good, what's happened when they've done poorly, and try to work my program around that for their race specifically. It doesn't always work that way. Most of the time it doesn't. Like I tell my buddy Aaron Hamilton, who I drive a lot of horses for, I always ask him, I said, well, what do you want me to do with them this week? He says, you're in the driver's seat. So I said, well, I had a game plan. So I tell him the game plan, and then we look at each other and we're like, well, that's never going to work because that's not how it's going to go. Yeah. But we end up, having pretty good success together. So another guy, I appreciate giving me a lot of drives this summer.
That's pretty cool, man. So that's something I've talked to some other drivers about too, as far as their prep work. And similar to what you're saying, once you get behind the gate and the gate takes off, that can all change at the snap of the fingers pretty much, and your game plan is crumbled up and thrown out the window, so to speak, right away.
Yeah, I try not to game plan too hard. I just kind of focus on what the horse is like. If you game plan too hard, you just second guess things, and instead of driving, the feel of the horse, which is more important than game planning, because when you game plan, you forget about feeling the horse. You're just worried about, I can't do this, or, I got to do this. And then by the time that opportunity comes to do that or don't do that, you do the opposite, and then you're going back through the field.
That's very true too, man. So I'm that seems to be the number one answer when I ask that question. Is it all comes down to just a feel thing and kind of in the moment. So, talking more about off the track stuff. So obviously, there aren't really off days in the horse business. You're working with them in the morning every single day, regardless of rain or shine and holiday or not, that type of thing. But on a night like tonight, you're off from Dayton Raceway, off from Northfield and stuff like that. What do you usually like to do?
Oh, well, with the COVID stuff happening, it's hard to do much really because I get more annoyed with the lines going everywhere and can't sit 20 feet from Billy Bob Joe down the corner. But we like to go out to dinner, like Texas Roadhouse and stuff like that. And sometimes we go bowling. I like to bowl. Okay. Sometimes I can be really good at it. That's one of my things that I like to do is bowl. I can't go fishing right now because I am a fair weather fisherman. I can go fishing every day in the summer, in the morning, night, middle of the day. If I have 10 minutes to stop at some pond down 40 minutes from here, I'll stop there for 10 minutes and try to catch something. But I don't do the cold winter stuff. Like back home, they do a lot of ice fishing. I think I went one time. I might have been like 15. I went with my older brother, and I hated it. I sat out there. One, we didn't catch anything, and two, I couldn't feel my hands, my toes. I couldn't feel nothing for like a couple hours. It was the worst.
Oh, so we'll chalk it up. Yeah, you're a summer fisherman, so that's good. And you talk about some of the sports and stuff like that. Did you play any ball or anything like that back in your day, or what did you kind of do, besides the horse stuff?
Well, when growing up, I didn't do the horses. I didn't do the horses until I was 18. When I started to go to college, I was around it like summer break and winter break and some weekends with my grandma. Like I grew up around Hoosier Park and Indiana Downs with my grandma. She worked for different people over there. So that's kind of what got me hooked. Like when I was a little kid, it was in Michigan when the racing was big and they went for a lot of money and stuff. But I never had an opportunity to even race in Michigan, but maybe I qualified some horses at Northville Downs maybe, but that was about it. We had a track in my hometown, Jackson Raceway, and my dream growing up was to always race at Jackson Raceway. And unfortunately, it got shut down about 2 years after I left home. Well, 2 years before I left home. And I never got the chance to race up there because that was my hometown. And everybody from my hometown they didn't really know how much about the racing and stuff, and they always heard me talking about it when I was growing up, and they were interested in it once I got in it for real, and they all wanted to come watch, but it's hard for people to drive 4 hours, come down and watch some races, you know what I mean? Right. For Michigan.
Absolutely. So, sorry I backtracked on you there a little bit too, but moving along again, this is something you and I kind of talked about on Facebook here a couple weeks ago. But one comment I made was that I think you have probably the most unique colors in all of harness racing. You have the orange and green, and that's a combo that I don't think I've ever seen before seeing you at the track. So what is the meaning behind the orange and green colors?
Yeah, it's not super common. You see it like at track every now and again. Not here necessarily. Up in Northfield, there's a guy up there, Kent Sherman. He trains wears the same colors. He told me the same thing. He's like, the only guy with the same colors as me. But I picked my colors way before I even got into business. I used to have a harness racing game on my computer called Final Stretch. You would have loved it. I don't know if you ever played it. No. You ever play that game? No. Oh, dude, you'd have been playing that nonstop. You'd be streaming it right now on your computer. It was great. I loved it. I used to sit there all day and play Zoo Tycoon and Final Stretch horse racing. But I picked my colors. I picked my colors way back then. Dude, Zoo Tycoon is where it was at. I mean, you're probably how old are you?
I'm 24, man.
Okay, so you should be Zoo Tycooning it up when you were a kid, because that was the.
I know Zoo Tycoon, but yeah, I didn't know What was it, Final Stretch? You said.
Final Stretch, yep. I found it on somebody's computer one day when I was visiting. I think I was out in New York or New Jersey with my grandma, and her computer had it on there, and I fell in love with it. I had to order it off of eBay for the computer and everything. It was awesome. It was the coolest game ever. But I picked my colors because, like the two people I grew up watching, one was Danny Davidson, who was a Michigan Hall of Famer. He's passed away now, but he was black and orange.
Mm-hmm.
And so I took the orange from him. And then Trace Tetrick, my grandma used to work for him when I was growing up. And he was kind of like my racing hero. You know, everybody has a person that they look up to when they're young. And he just was lights out even when he was starting to drive. You know, he was doing kind of what I try to do now is he was going like down to the Red Mile, coming back to Hoosier. And, you know, like that's kind of what I do with the fairs in Scioto. And then I try to go to the Red Mile sometimes too, try to drive everywhere.
That's pretty cool. I like. I'm still new to all this. Like I said, I really didn't even start following this till about October of 2019. I went to my first race in 2015 at a county fair here in town, and I just went back every year. You know, I was pretty much a once a year harness racing fan. And then it was the end of last year I really started to pick it up. And Trace Tetrick's a driver that I kind of gravitated to too. And he's doing some pretty good things down at Dayton Raceway, and just 3 or 4 carbs under his belt. He's drove a lot of winners already, but so that's cool. I like hearing the stories about the meaning behind drivers' colors and stuff like that. So we've recapped 2020. We've previewed 2021 and what some of your plans are already, but I kind of want to take things a little further than that. For you, you know, what are some of your long-term goals, and where do you want to be in 10 to 15 years in this business?
Well, first of all, I just got to pray that this business is still going like it is right now. If we don't get more people involved like you and myself that are younger and kind of, you know, like tech savvy and trying to get out there with social media, Gabe Pruitt does a heck of a job.
Yeah.
He's like the harness racing ambassador of ambassadors. I mean, he's trying to bring people in that are getting out of it, or people that don't even know anything about it. And, you know, hopefully guys like us can get hooked up with him. You know, he's going to be pretty much running part of Scioto Downs and Hoosier, and he's down at Pompano right now. Yeah, maybe we can get you hooked up with him and get on the team. You know what I'm saying? Because we need more guys of our age getting in the business, because, you know, people get out of the business every day, and people are getting too old to do it and stuff like that. And it's just going to kill us, because when they go and there's not enough of us, then there isn't going to be anything for us to do anymore.
Absolutely.
And I hope that when I get to the point of, you know, me driving every day or training or whatever is going on, and that is my only source of income, and that's my career, then I hope that it lasts long enough, you know, that I don't have to just jump ship when I'm getting to the top, you know what I mean? So just gotta work hard with guys like you and Gabe and all the older guys that are still in it, and try to make a little change. You know, the guy up in Canada, Adriano Sorella, he preaches change and preaches advertising, and, you know, he helps the business out a lot. And we just need more guys that have money and have take initiative to get our brand out there. Because what I notice is, as a younger guy, we all watch sports on TV nonstop. You know, we need more people to know that for $10 a month, they can watch every harness race all across the country every night for $10 a month. We need to get to the RTN memberships out there. We just need, you know, advertising, you know, get the local tracks to advertise that they race on these nights a week and this and that, not just, oh, the casino is open nonstop. Oh, wait, in the back corner, there's a track. If you didn't know, there's 10 horses racing at a time for 15 races a night. You know what I mean?
Right.
People just don't know, because it's not advertised. You know, at Scioto, it seems like they do an all right job. Like on the billboard and stuff, they have the harness racing, and they say live racing this night and this night. And they had a lot of people there this year. I was at Scioto every night this year, and for the past 3 or 4 years, this is pre-COVID, we had more people, it seemed like, now at the races than there was then. So I don't know. Everybody thought, you know, COVID was going to kill us off, but oddly enough, COVID was here. We had $1 million and $1 million and $1 million handles right after, you know, one after another, and we had more people there live. So I'm hoping that, you know, maybe those people branch out and say, hey, next year, we're all going to Side of Downs and get our name out there and get our brand out there and get people to love horse racing again. You know what I mean?
And I think Gabe had a lot to do with that. He was a big part of Scioto here this year, and their broadcast that they did on RTN and running a lot of their social media stuff and his own social media stuff to lead to some of those $1 million handles, and hopefully, maybe that was a reason too for why we saw kind of some increased attendance while down there also. So that's good. And Gabe's somebody I definitely want to get on here sometime and talk to and have some of his ideas get out there. And again, like you said, maybe some people that haven't been in the business for a while can come back, or people that don't know what harness racing is, try to get them into it too. So my last question for you here, we'll get wrapped up for tonight. I feel like I'm in somewhat of a similar position that you were when you were 18. You started out working with the horses and slowly working your way up to where you're jogging them and training them, qualifying them, and that sort of thing. And now you're catching a lot of drives out there and gaining the trust of a lot of other trainers out there. So for someone like me that's young and wants to get into it, or maybe they are older and they want to become an owner, trainer, and driver, what is some advice that you would give to them starting out? What advice would you continue to give them throughout? Your microphone.
What about now?
There we go. Got it. But
Stupid thing.
So give me kind of your best advice for somebody like me or anybody that's in my position.
Well, the best thing about this business is anybody can do it. You can be tall, short, fat, skinny, old. It don't matter. Young. Everybody can do this at some level. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you go buy your $3,000 horse and get involved and you just want to do it as a hobby because you think you want to learn and have fun. Or if you got the money, you get some good horses, send them to a trainer, and you're involved as an owner and you just want to see your horses win. There's nothing more exciting than seeing your horses win, or as a driver winning a race. It doesn't matter if I only win one race or win 10 races or whatever. It's exciting. It doesn't matter. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're on the front or from the back, or it doesn't matter. It's so exciting. There's nothing more. Like, I've won basketball tournaments, baseball tournaments, everything as far as sports go when I was younger, and I throw it out the window. You sit behind 1,000-pound animal and you cross the wire first and get your picture taken. That's just the best. And guys like you just gotta do it. You just gotta keep doing it. Like when I started, I didn't know what I was doing. I just told people I kind of knew what I was doing, and they gave me some opportunities to train horses. And that's the funniest story about me getting started. I wouldn't say I lied, but I didn't tell the truth about it. I kind of said, yeah, I totally know what I'm doing. You know what I mean? But after a little bit of time, they realized, well, I might have stretched the truth some, but it worked. I never had any, mishaps really. But I learned, and that's the quickest way to learn really, is just to do it. There's different things that you learn in life, and you can read a book or, have somebody show you to do it. But if you just get in there and do it, it's the easiest. Like for you, you're starting to work with the horses. Just do it every day. It's repetitive, but everything's different every day. Your horse is going to act different every day. You're going to harness them different every day. You're going to jog them different every day, train them different every day, and they're going to race different every time they race. So it's a never-ending learning process. That's what makes it so fun.
That's pretty awesome, man. So from what I'm hearing is you got to it's open to anybody, harness racing at any level. You got to be there every day, and then basically fake it till you make it is what I'm hearing.
I'm sure that's not how it goes for everybody. But if I ever make it big time and they make a little article or book or whatever, they're gonna say that's what it is. Fake it till you make it, or you don't. And then, or you don't right out of the box. Like, you're either gonna do it or you're not. You're gonna have to find something else to do. And honestly, just a little perseverance. You gotta have a lot of perseverance when you start off in this. Unless you have, like a dad or a grandpa or uncle or aunt or whoever that can get you started in this, it is really, really tough. I ended up, after working for 6 or 7 different people, I found a guy that after a while, he let me drive horses with Mike Metters. And if without him, I probably would never have made it, because I would have never got the opportunities like with the good horses, and that wouldn't lead me to the horses that I drive now for all the other people.
Well, that's pretty awesome, man. So I appreciate you being my first guest here on the Paddock Party. So I told everybody before we started tonight's video, you were when I started this page, you were one of the first guys to really latch onto it. As soon as I reached out to you about it, like, Austin, if there's anything I can do to help you with Scott Trot with the page, I'm there. So that's something I'm really thankful for. And then my first night, I got to meet you out at the races. You gave me your whip and stuff. I actually got that hanging down here in my basement, so as a souvenir. So that's the kind of stuff that newer fans like me never forget, and hopefully that's stuff that continues to get people involved. So I want to thank you for being the first guest on the show, and I want to wish you continued success here the rest of 2020. Hopefully you can get over your 70 wins plateau that you want to get to, and then I want to wish you the best of luck in 2021, and hopefully it'll be the best year yet for you, man.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, thanks, Chris. Have a nice night. Thanks to everybody that tuned in. Make sure you like this video and share and like Scott Trot. I appreciate everybody. And again, for my guest, Chris Presley, I appreciate it and hope everybody has a great night. See you, man.
Yep, see ya.